There's an old joke, and it goes like this. What do you get when you play country music in reverse? Well, you get your house back, you get your wife back, and you get your dog back. The same principle will be true for Hell Let Loose. It seems as though Team 17 has taken a hard look at all the reports and suggestions surrounding their takeover, and have gone back to the drawing board, and have recognized what makes Hell Let Loose, Hell Let Loose. There's no doubt that with the introduction of Update 14, the game started to lose its squad-based functions.
Oh my god.
And with the Game Squad overhauling their game to promote exactly what their game intends, the devs at Team 17 must have taken notes on what the Hell Let Loose community actually wants. So what exactly makes Hell Let Loose so special? This is a hard one to nail down, but with all the current issues plaguing the game, it's much easier to see what doesn't work. Some people say that the run speed increase was to bring in new players, and with that notion, Team 17 would have advertised for this, instead of trying to hide it. Some players might have enjoyed the new run speed and Dolphin Dive, but the vast majority of players who have played this game for years enjoyed it the way it was, with zero complaints except for the bugs and performance issues, and Update 14 just made the snowball way too big. The bugs that we've all grown to overlook just became so present that the game was constantly fighting against you to be successful, and the implementation of Update 14 simply did more harm than good. Fixing bugs before introducing new content is a statement that you can find everywhere when looking into what players have been requesting for years. We now know that Team 17 is on the same page, and everything they add without going back and fixing previous issues will only add new issues on top of old ones, and this has to make it even more time-consuming and more expensive to go back at a later date and try and fix it. I suggest everyone go read the recent dev blog, which I will link in the description, as I'm only going to cover a few aspects of it that I think are the cream of the crop when it comes to sewing up the wounds that Update 14 has brought. If you've been with me since the beginning, or new to my channel, I appreciate the hell out of you, and thanks for taking time out of your day to watch my content. I know many of you are here for the sometimes brutal honesty, but mostly straight to the point approach. With that said, I've tried my best to remain hopeful throughout this game's development, and always give credit where credit is due, and today's dev blog has given me a sliver of hope that Team 17 actually wants to work on a successful project. They thought they could get away with not having to understand this game or player base, and today is the first inkling of hope that's shown me a different side of the coin. I'm sure BattleBit's playbook on how to make $27 million in 2 weeks has absolutely nothing to do with it. Let's start with this, a shift in focus. Postponing the roadmap to bring the game back to what a first-person shooter should be in 2023, especially after 4 years of development, is a massive step in the right direction. If you haven't seen my previous video, where I recreated the dev's 2023 roadmap video, then I suggest you watch it, and see what we actually got versus what the devs said we'd get. Click the info card in the top right or in the description. Focusing on bringing more frequent patches is something Black Matter used to do, but change this to only one hotfix after an update, because launching multiple fixes didn't make them any money, which is easy to understand. This is why many bugs have been ignored and impossible to find a fix for, because they're hard to recreate and weren't profitable. And now Team 17 has realized that this same approach just isn't going to work anymore, especially if what they say can't actually be fixed. Bringing back the PTEs is the first step into making this game better. Everyone knew the decision to remove them was a bad idea, and introducing a dev-only server to test on wouldn't work either. How are you even going to have enough people to fill the server and test it out? Seems simple, right? The PTE date to test out Update 14.2 will take place on July 20th. No idea what time or region, but regardless, it's a smart move in the right direction. They mentioned the British faction being underwhelming, which isn't the right word. It's borderline pathetic. But hey, however they reference it, it's great that we are on the same playing field as far as their efforts go. I just hope they fix the size of the guns as well as everything else wrong with them. The practice range is long overdue, and I cannot wait to see how this is implemented. That's all I have to say about that. The InGame Store is something that makes people weary. Just look at Enlisted's publisher, Gaijin, if you want to see how a greedy company will manipulate their player base to extract your hard-earned dollars. Pay to win should be a crime, and with Activision's patent on skill-based hit detection, these companies might as well be making casino games. If the in-game store is just so players can purchase them in-game and not have to go through Steam and relaunch the game to use them, then cool, I'm all for it and see nothing wrong with it. It's refreshing to see bug fixes taking priority over new game modes. Remember, Hell Let Loose is a 50 versus 50 team-based shooter, not some smaller game mode focused run around shoot 'em up with broken mechanics and guns that don't work, all because a small minority of players want shorter matches. This wouldn't even be necessary if your points and XP saved constantly mid-game, and you could leave at any time without losing your progress. Most games do this without issue, but this is Hell Let Loose. Update 14.3 aims to tackle the old issues and the new ones. Besides all the issues with the British, the only ones I care about are the in-game stutter, loadout bug, grenade bug, and rubber banding. Pre-Update 14, the only maps I had stutters on were Stalingrad and very minor on Hurtgen Forest. And since Update 14, I get stutters on every map, and even worse, a micro stutter every time I aim down sight, which throws off my timing, and it is extremely frustrating to say the least. One thing we need to discuss is the term the devs used, which is called World Origin Rebasing. I've never heard that term before, so I decided to look into this. What is World Origin Rebasing? World Origin Rebasing is a concept using computer graphics and game development to adjust the position of objects in a virtual world. Imagine you're playing a game where you can move around a large open world. The game world is made up of many objects, such as buildings, trees, and characters. Each object has its own position coordinates relative to a point called the world origin. The world origin is like the starting point or reference point for all the objects in the game world. Sometimes game developers encounter a problem called floating point precision or floating point drift. It happens because computers have limited precision when representing numbers. Over time, as you move further away from the world origin, the small errors in representing the position of objects can accumulate and cause objects to shift or jitter slightly. To solve this issue, world origin rebasing is used. It involves moving the world origin closer to the player or the main character. By doing this, the objects in the game world will have smaller coordinate values, reducing the impact of floating point precision errors. It effectively resets the reference point and helps maintain better accuracy and stability in the game world. Think of it as repositioning the starting point of a game world to prevent objects from drifting or behaving unpredictably as you explore or move around. It's like adjusting the ruler's starting point to keep measurements more accurate as they get larger. So how does World Origin Basing help in multiplayer games? Well, in multiplayer games, World Origin Rebasing can help address synchronization issues between players and ensure a consistent and fair gameplay experience. This should help with being able to see enemies behind a wall that's not rendering. You shoot at them just to realize your bullets are stopping in front of them. In multiplayer games, multiple players are connected to the same virtual world, and their actions and positions need to be synchronized to create a shared experience. Each player has their own local representation of the game world, including the position of objects and characters. However, due to floating point precision and network latency, differences can arise in the positions calculated by each player's computer. These differences can lead to discrepancies in the game world, causing players to see objects or characters in slightly different positions or experiencing odd collisions. By using World Origin Rebasing, the game server can periodically adjust the world origin and send the updated position information to all connected players. This helps align the positions of objects and characters across all players' views of the game world, reducing inconsistencies and maintaining a more coherent multiplayer experience. Essentially, World Origin Rebasing in multiplayer games helps keep all players on the same page by periodically repositioning the reference point, ensuring that the relative positions of objects and characters remain consistent among all connected players. It helps minimize visual discrepancies, improves collision detection, and creates a more fair and enjoyable multiplayer environment. Let's hope that this adjustment helps with the player collision too, as I cannot stand it when scared players instantly go prone when they spawn in on a garrison, and now I'm stuck because someone is laying at my feet. Also, being able to run past a friendly in a trench without having to jump out or go back to the entrance would be a welcome fix too. With that said, it's almost like Team 17 is reverting the game back to Update 13 without reverting the game back to Update 13. Without every one of you making your voices heard, this game would continue on a progressive downward slope, with Team 17 not having a clue as to what happened or what to fix. Once the playing field is leveled with Update 14.2 and Update 14.3, this game will finally be back on the right path, and I hope many of you come back or reinstall the game. Games are supposed to be fun, and this new direction is aimed at bringing back the fun and putting it at the top of the list. People will pay for fun. Too bad it took losing half the player base to find that out. Till next time, have a good rest of your week. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.